He's a very important thinker, and he has a very important take on the $2 trillion bill that this country has passed. So I'm going to just summarize a couple of calls and then go right to him. Some of you have seen these signs that I'm referring to about black-owned, LGBTQ-owned, women-owned in their various places. Martin has seen it in Atlanta. And let's see, Mike in Milwaukee. But I do ask David in Atlanta to stay on. He has a challenge. What is the difference between wanting to buy American or to buy black? So I'm going to take that. But first, I'm going to go to my guest, Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore is known to every one of us who follows economics in particular, but politics in general. He's Senior Economic Policy Advisor for FreedomWorks, which is a conservative and libertarian advocacy group in Washington, D.C. Stephen, welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show.
Hey, Dennis, great to be with you, and I want to thank you. You know, we did that PragerU video, which was about 4 or 5 months ago, on red states versus blue states, and you know we have 14 million views, which is amazing. You made me famous. I mean, the power of those PragerU videos is just spectacular.
Yes.
People come up to me in the streets and say, you know, why aren't we making America more like the red states than the blue states?
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for America. I'm happy for PragerU. It's an interesting thing, isn't it, that we get 1 billion views a year, and yet people speak about the power of CNN, which we dwarf. I mean,
Right.
On any given week, we have more than they have in a year, I believe. So,
well, that's probably true. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
And if I may, I want to mention one other quick thing, Dennis. You wrote a column about 3 or 4 weeks ago that really hit me hard, and I just want to mention it. It's the one you wrote on the good Germans.
Yes.
Remember that column?
Yes.
And I think about that in the context of what happened yesterday in Congress, where this unconscionable bill that will bankrupt our country, that is basically just the Bernie Sanders agenda wrapped up in a COVID emergency health relief bill. Not one Democrat in the United States Senate stood up and said no. They were steamrollered by, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and only 2 out of 211 Democrats in the House of Representatives voted against this abhorrent bill. None of them have a fiscal conscience. And, when I read your piece about the good Germans, it just reminded me of the John Stuart Mill quote that all it takes for evil to triumph is for people of goodwill to do nothing. And these people did nothing. Nothing.
Do you know, the moment you said, reminded me, or you wanted to comment on a column of mine, I knew it was the good German. I followed it up with the good American, by the way. The next.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, take a look. But I have a phrase that I came up with, which is sort of a variation on John Stuart Mill that I think you'll appreciate, and that is, if only evil people did evil, the world would be a good place.
Uh-huh.
And you know what made me think of it? My
right.
visit, I just was in Minnesota because I gave a speech in Wisconsin a few weeks ago. And they're very nice. It's true. They call it Minnesota nice. I've been to Minnesota probably 15 times. And there are remarkably sweet people,
mm-hmm.
and they vote evil people into office.
Right.
So that is what made me realize, if only the evil did evil, it would be a good place. These people are not evil. These are good people doing evil.
Well, that's true. And then you look at the prime example is Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin represents a state that voted 70% for Donald Trump. Its key industry is the coal industry, which is, this America was built on coal. We have the cleanest coal in the world. And Joe Manchin, after, wringing his hands and saying, we're going to do this the right way, and we're not going to go for a $1.9 trillion spending bill. We're going to do this in a bipartisan way with my Republican friends. In the end, what did he do? What did he do yesterday? He voted with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, and now, thankfully, not one single Republican voted for that bill. It is going to do nothing to help the economy. In fact, I think it's a big negative for the economy. It massively gives money to the states that did it wrong. You know, economics is very simple, Dennis. It's all about incentives. It's about human nature. You know, what you want to do in life is reward people for doing the right thing and punish people for doing the wrong thing, just like your kids. And what have we done in this bill? You know, I talked to Governor Ron DeSantis this weekend. And
all right, hold it there and remember that. Stephen Moore is the man I chose to discuss this bill, which, by the way, is a lie. Half of the $2 trillion has nothing to do with COVID. It's corruption. It is the largest corruption in American history.